You're listening to We Deepen Media.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Deepen with Christina. I'm your host, Christina Weber, founder and CEO of We Deepen, Feminine Weapon, and also a certified professional coach. If you haven't lately, go to wedeepen.com and check out all the upcoming social and transformational experiences. At the time of recording this podcast, it is April of 2024. And we are getting ready for the upcoming Biohacking Conference, which is happening in Dallas, Texas, May 29th through June 1st. I'll be there. We Deepen will be there. We're actually hosting a We Deepen Love Club exhibiting table. So you can stop by our table and hang out, talk love, relationships. You know, I remember a decade ago, one of my mentors in love, Dr. Sarah Nazaratum, had said to me, you know, if you want to be in a relationship and you're currently single and maybe you're not really interested in doing the dating app thing, go to places where the types of people that you desire to be in a relationship with would be. So if you're interested in people who are healthy, they invest in longevity, they are, growth minded, the Biohacking Conference is a place for you. It's a great place for dating. And at our table, the Love Club table, we'll be your wing women. We have wing women, wing men. We'll be there. We'll do it together, make friends. I will also be facilitating the community-led immersion on that first night of the conference, May 29th, with one of my dear friends, Sean Derrick. I know that my guests here today are friends of Sean Derrick, who's been living in Mexico City recently. Him and I met in New York City way back when, a decade ago. Sean Derrick and I were facilitating dating events in New York City circa 2014 to 2016. So him and I come back together at the Biohacking Conference, and our program that we're facilitating is Connect and Conquer. So come connect and conquer, do the conference together, find a sense of belonging. We'll be there. Join us. You can see all that at wedeepen.com. Also, the Love Club. I am excited to share. It's pretty much ready. You know, if you've been listening to this podcast for some time, or maybe you're a new listener, you get to journey with me as I aim to create my own career inside of the relationship space and build a system of service. You know, I've seen now for the past decade, I've spotted what I call the relationship industry. Some people get triggered by the term industry. Okay, it's a field of relationship people who are, and I say relationship people, that means like facilitators and teachers and experienced designers, as well as the concepts, communication styles, consent exercises, all the things that can support you in having a healthy, epic love life. So the Love Club, we have a new membership offering that we're rolling out. When you go to wedeepen.com, you can click on the Love Club and you can see new 3 membership tiers. This is birthed from our first group of 21 people that joined us in December of 2023 and have been with us for the past 5 months. It has been fucking amazing to date and do relationships as a part of a team. You know, when a couple gets married, you know, the real essence of a wedding, this is why a lot of people are like, marriage, why people do that nowadays? Does it kill romance? Well, the thing about marriage, the beautiful thing of like the wedding aspect to it is that you're inviting your family, friends, loved one, a village of people who love you. And you're standing in front of them and you're saying, hey, this relationship is really important to me. Will you help us stay committed to each other and also being the highest version of ourselves? And that's what essentially the Love Club is doing for you pre-relationship. When you're dating, we're advocating and rallying for each other, also opening up our networks. There's this peer-to-peer matchmaking aspect that's happening with inside of the Love Club. So you're not dating alone, and you're learning love, studying relationship, having fun together. And also, we might talk a little bit about toxic relationships today, because if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, if you've dated past that, you've probably had some type of experience with a toxic relationship. But when you have the people around you, your loved ones, or a community who's like, nope, that's really a red flag. You're not being avoidant. That's what the Love Club is aiming to do. So check it out. And there's upcoming experiences. We'll keep sharing more there for you, including Tantra speed dates and the Feels dating experience. If you do enjoy this podcast, please do like, subscribe, rate, give it 5 stars. It helps more people find it, helps me continue to host it, and brings more people into the network. So share this podcast with your friends and loved ones. So about a month ago or so, I get this enthusiastic message on WhatsApp from a friend of a friend, Marco, who we had connected during the pandemic. One of my co-collaborators, Amari Talakli, and I were creating a Yes and program. And I think, Marco, that you came in and were a special guest on one of the Yes Ends. It was questions and conversations that challenged the status quo. So Marco reached out about a month ago and was like, hey, what are you up to? Advocating for healthy relationships. It's a passion of mine. I also love community building and supporting entrepreneurs. Let's jump on the line. I want to see how we can connect and collaborate. And I did. I get a lot of messages from a lot of people. Sometimes my text messages are overwhelming, but this one stood out because it was like I could feel that sense of aliveness inside the message. Him and I jumped on the phone. Marco told me what he's up to with his work in love and relationships. Anaya, did I say Anaya? It right? Anaya, fucking yes. I had to practice because Anaya and I are meeting for the very first time on the Zoom. Anaya is Marco's significant other. You guys are married, right?
No,
you're not married.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they are doing life together, and they're working together in coaching couples and creating experiences. They're in a poly dynamic, and at an up and coming Love Club masterclass, they're going to be sharing it. When one of the things that Mark and I geeked out on when we got on the phone is how to make dating more fun. And it's interesting when a couple comes together and they choose to continue dating because I'm like, aren't you done? Like, so many people are like, I want to stop dating. Like, get me into a relationship so I don't have to date anymore. And these two have continued to date and support people in that area. So welcome to Deepen with Christina. It's so sweet to be bonding with you guys in this way and sharing your message.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. I'm sorry, this may be very distracting, but I can't sit here and miss the opportunity to share with the audience that there was a stark difference between our pre-conversation and then the sexy ASMR Christina that got on the line. I was like, oh, hello. It was just such a cool experience. You all had to be there to get it, but hopefully you can just imagine for a moment that Christina turns on the voice and it's like, ooh.
Turn it on. Marco and Anaya. Yeah. Welcome to Deepen with Christina.
Yes. Exactly.
Thank you so much for having us.
So let's start. I love origin stories. When people are dating there, I want to get inspired. Where did you meet? I was actually even just geeking out on, did you ever see Elder Millennial?
I haven't.
No.
Oh, Liza, she's a comedian. It's hilarious. You guys should definitely go watch Elder Millennial on Netflix. Anyway, she was making fun of how women will tend to ask when they're single, if they see someone with like an engagement ring on, or they meet a couple, like, how did you meet? It's like they're looking for clues. Like, that's where you found them.
Yeah. Well, I think you hinted at it at the beginning because we were at an event where we found commonalities, people that are interested in the same thing. So yeah, where do we meet, Marco?
Yeah. At Summit, LA. So was Summit, oh my gosh, what was this?
2018.
2018. I was still in my company at the time, which was a very interesting time in my company because I was on this, like, for the first time ever, a bit of a downward slope where my company wasn't doing as good as it had been doing for the past fucking entire history of it, basically. And I was in a bit of a transformational space where I'm like, man, like, I just want to be here and I want to be really present and I want to enjoy, and I'm single this time. And I go to the bathroom, and in the wonderful fancy Summit LA porta potties, I come out these fancy porta potties, and there's this human standing outside, and I see her. I don't know if I looked at you and then you smiled, or you were just randomly smiling because you like randomly smiling. You probably were.
I was very much randomly smiling.
Yeah. Yes. So randomly smiling. And I said, you have a nice smile. And I kept on walking. Right. And this was a very key thing for me because at this time of my life, I had been realizing that everything from my business to the way that I treated women to everything was about winning and conquering and succeeding. So it was very uncharacteristic of me to see someone that I wanted to compliment and then to just move on. But I was like trying a new thing. I was like, Marco, you don't have to own her. You don't have to conquer her. You can just let her know you have a good smile and just keep moving. So yeah, I kept moving. And I always wonder the best way to tell this. We do like a back and forth of your version of that one. What do you think, Christina? Should you could do my
Real
version?
quick, I think I was there at that summit.
You were? Oh my God.
Was it on the east side of Los Angeles and a day full event?
No, it was downtown. It was multiple days. It was like 3 days.
Oh no, I wasn't at that one. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah. But what do you think? Should I tell my side of it and then she tells her? Or should we bounce back and forth? What do you think?
I like a little bounce back and forth.
Bounce back and forth. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you tell that.
Co-create this story for us.
Yeah.
I mean, you did it. You did co-create it.
We co-created it literally.
So obviously I'm standing there outside waiting for my turn to go into the porta potty. And quite honestly, I see a group of people pass by and then I hear him, like he's almost past me and I say, you have a nice smile. And I just smile at him and I say, thank you. But quite honestly, was surprised that he kept walking. But took it with like complete ease. I'm like, oh, that was nice. All right. See you later. Bye. And then patiently waited my turn. And then someone came on and I realized as soon as you go in, there's stalls within inside the porta potty. I thought it was you open the door and it would be an actual stall. So I actually didn't need to be waiting outside at all. Right. So that I always think that's so interesting. Like if I knew that those porta potties had stalls inside, I wouldn't have been waiting outside and he wouldn't have told me that. So yeah.
She would have been inside and she wouldn't have had the opportunity to then subsequently stalk me. And somehow, some way, downtown Los Angeles, maybe an hour or two later, not at Summit, but at another restaurant bar, I'm sitting in the bar. I'm in front of the bar. I'm like at the entrance, like the entrance way. There's like a seat and table there. And in comes the wonderful smile. And I literally see her and I'm like, the woman with the wonderful smile, because I don't have a name for her. So it's just the woman with the wonderful smile. And we start talking. And I swear to you, to this day, I can't actually remember who else was there because everything became black around me. And it was just me and her. And I'm just like, whoa, this person is interesting. And we were just like in the zone, in the bar. I don't know what's happening around us. We even leave the bar and start walking other places. I still don't remember who else was with us. I remember Brian. I don't remember who else was there. There was a lot of other people there. But yeah, that's my version of that part.
Yeah.
I know you'll retell it as you're not actually stalking me, but we know that's not true.
Of course, I was not stalking him. He had walked away and I went to the bathroom, so I had no idea where he went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at that point, I was with my friend and we walked into this bar and I see him and I was like gleefully overjoyed seeing him. Quite honestly, I was like, oh, it's that guy that said I had a nice smile. Let's go talk to him. He seems interesting. I go straight to his table and we start engaging and similar feeling. I just feel like kind of enamored and trapped in awe, like with everything that we were just choosing to talk about. I was just like, oh, I really want to know more about him. And I was thoroughly engaged. I no longer started talking to my friend. I stopped talking to him and just was thoroughly, focused on Marco.
I love telling this story. I'm like, that's just so great to recap.
And at this point, are you two both single in the moment? Like completely single?
Oh, we can't tell all of those details yet. It'll ruin the story.
Okay, go on.
So So then we like leave there. Was that night the night of the?
It was a theater.
The theater. That was a theater night.
Mm-hmm.
We go to like a theater. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like all these parties, events, EDM things, like, Kanye West speaking, whatever the hell. It's not Kanye, but like imagine that is the setting, but we don't care about any of that. Like we just keep like going along with our friends to different locations to find better places for us to go into a corner and talk and be us. So we hide away at a theater and we're going in and like, it's like this such magic happening. And I remember one of the things which is relevant for a lot of transformational stuff is this is when we started talking about the whole superhero exchange. Mm-hmm. It was an business idea we both shared. And at the time, me being the CEO of my company, I'm like, I want to do stuff like that like just helps people, but I can't because I'm the CEO of the company. And she gave me the most genius response. She was like, well, why can't you? You're the CEO of the company. You could just leave, like replace yourself. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing, so insightful. Like, who is this woman with these crazy ideas? So planted a seed of possibility in me that I had not seen. And then that same night was the night that you drove me home. Yeah, you drove me home to the hotel. And I'm thinking like, natural order of operations here. I'm like, this is the part where like I kiss her, we go up, we have sex, whatever. But I'm like, new Marco. I'm the Marco that doesn't say anything other than you have a nice smile and then walks away. So this Marco is like, you know what? We're not going to kiss her and we don't have to have sex. We can just let this evening end just like this. And your version.
So no, very similar. So like, again, super enthralled with our conversation. We're engaging on our intellect and business and then even giving him these insights. I'm like, that seems such a no-brainer thing. Like you are the CEO, so therefore make the choice to leave. So like, but it's so engaging in the sense that like, I am feeling so connected to him. I don't want to leave his side. We literally end up talking. It's literally probably like 3 in the morning,
4 in the morning
at this point now, when I'm actually walking to my car to give him a ride to his hotel. And in this point in the car, I'm like feeling the energy of like, is he going to kiss me? And, he doesn't. And I let him go I drop him off and I feel satisfied and feel great still with the conversation we had and still feel overjoyed with having met him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Scene 2. Now it gets really interesting. So the next day is my birthday. So there at Summit and I'm messaging her, the wonderful woman with the smile. And I'm like, oh man, I'd love to come through. Like there's some people that are going to throw a party for me. You should come. No response, right? Message again a few hours later. Hey, just checking in, see what's going on with you. No response. First thing I'm thinking is, all right, well, of course, she's really freaking cool and she's probably busy. She's got other cool things to do. Like, she's not going to show up for my party. So I go to my party. My party in this case was that they had taken a section of the Summit, Like it turned it into this awesome dance floor DJ. People made a sign for me like, happy birthday, Marco. Most of my friends are women. So there's a lot of women. And, and I'm like, this is great. And I wish that girl would have hit me back with a smile. Like, so I'm just having my fun, doing my thing. And then about like, what, 1 in the morning or something?
No,
midnight. It wasn't that late.
No, it was not.
It was late. It was late. It was a long time. It was a long time.
It was
with no response. The afternoon. Okay. It was in the afternoon. It felt like an eternity for me. She finally messages me, and apparently it's like she had just been asleep because we went out so long. So she was just recovering. She wasn't ignoring me. We connect, and the vibe continues and continues, and then I will pause and let you do the last one because then the conclusion comes.
So yeah, I slept a long time. I end up going later to the summit and the event, and I just messaged him like, I'm probably not going to make it. It's yeah. Plus I was working the event, so I wasn't actually just fully attending. And I was serving tea, which was lovely and awesome. But I know, yeah, I was very excited to meet up with him at some point. But that was really it. And I think it was the next day that we ended up connecting again and like hanging out. And I'm thoroughly enjoying his company and our conversation and his playfulness. And yeah, you can continue. Yeah. Like it was like, yeah, we go to a party, we're dancing now. And
oh yeah, we're dancing, we're vibing. We're like, this person is like me. We even to the point where she's dancing at one point and she just drops on the floor in the middle of the dance floor, just puts her arms up, legs up, and says, I'm an octopus. It's like one of us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's an octopus. I get on the floor. I become an octopus. Before you know it, we've got like half the dance floor in the middle, all being octopuses. And I'm like, this person is silly and ridiculous like me. And she's intelligent and she's fun and she can dance her ass off. And she's just fucking embodying so much joy. I can't imagine that there's any outcome here other than me and this human being connecting more deeply. We get onto a grass lawn and all of the events that are happening in Summit are going by. It doesn't matter what's happening. We are still there, just locked in, talking for like 4, 5, 6 hours straight. This joyful human being in her joy, and then her joy changes for a moment. And she says, by the way, I'm married.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I respond with the only thing that I could respond in that moment. I said, well, obviously you have a sister, right? Like, because there's no way that we've met and this is the end. Like, you're just here to introduce me to your sister who's just like you, because there's too much energy here. But the thing I noticed when she said it is it was the one time that she was not very happy. So it registered for me as like, first it was like a lot of this, like, oh, Marco, you dumbass. Of course, she's too awesome. Why would she be single? And, oh, well, this is what it's supposed to be, like, blah, blah, blah. But then there was another part of me that was like, why do I feel like this isn't the last time that we're going to connect? This doesn't feel like the end of this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me in this whole experience, obviously you knew that I was married, doing all of this and feeling so excited. I, at this point, have been with that partner, who I was married 5 years, together 12 years. So I'm a very free-loving, wild child type of person. So it wasn't unnormal, or it was very normal for me to connect with people, have fun, really invest in connecting, because that's the type of person that I am. But at this point, when obviously I decided to actually tell him, it's one of those moments where I feel somewhat torn. And the first time I ever felt this torn to actually share this type of information, because I really enjoyed our connection. that we had,
man.
and really feeling that connection while being completely like, I'm a very loyal person. So it's not like I like even that night when I was thinking that he would kiss me, I in knowing who I am, I would have said no. I would have said yeah. And then that's when I would have told him that I'm in a relationship.
If for somebody who's listening right now, they might be thinking, well, was she wearing a wedding ring?
Yes, I was.
Tell about this. This is so funny.
So, I'm not very conventional. I also therefore did not have a conventional type of wedding ring.
Yeah.
It was a ring he had gotten me in Thailand, and it was like a shape of a peacock.
It just looked like jewelry. Just random jewelry. So I'm not thinking anything.
So yeah, it didn't look like a normal wedding ring. But I definitely, for him to notice and for him to see my energy change when I told him this, I mean, I pointed to the ring. It's obviously like, yeah, no one's going to really know that that's a wedding ring, maybe. But we had been together so long, and I was not happy. I could clearly say that it was a very toxic dynamic, and not fun or enjoyable for me at that point at all. Yeah. So to feel like I shared this news with him felt like a disappointment for me even. And therefore, like, I'm going to disappoint him too. But still, like, me generally feeling excitement and joy because I met someone who I think is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fast forward to this current moment.
Yeah.
You're not in that marriage anymore?
Correct. Yeah. Basically 2 months after we met, we divorced.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I
go ahead.
I imagine sometimes that energetic of we shouldn't be together, we can't be together in some way actually propels people closer to one another. Do you guys have, like, if somebody, I've seen that, like, if somebody is newly divorced, the other one is like, oh, you should go out and have fun and have experiences. I don't want to tie you down. There becomes this tension. If there's an honoring of where someone's at in their life, it becomes almost a spot to deepen in, like a spot, like a vulnerable thing that creates even a more sticky type connection if the two people are super authentic and raw in their experience.
Which we definitely were. Absolutely. Like, he was very resistant. I was the same page. I was like, I am free. I get to be me. I am not looking for a relationship. But we kept the connection, and he lived in LA. I did not live in LA. We had distance between us. I'm from Santa Barbara, but so not too far. And we were, infrequently communicating. But our communication was meaningful and lovely. And so happenstance, I decided to take a solo retreat and a silent retreat of my own that I created for me in a friend's place in Topanga. And the end of that was happenstance, like going to an event that I invited him to because I wanted to see him, because he kept coming up in my mind. Mm-hmm. And that was that night specifically, us hanging out and me being in this more like freely liberated space and having taken that time alone already. And just being the person that I am, I was radically honest, completely upfront with how I was feeling and my perception of him. I ended up writing him a long text message because I still like
she's divorced, by the way.
Yeah, at this point I'm divorced. Yeah, and I just was very clear, but like very intense by saying I'm attracted to every part of you that I've like experienced so far.
Yeah, which was terrifying to me. And the terrifying part to me was like I associated it to like I am just a symbol of her freedom, and she's not actually into me. Like it's just she just met me, and it opened a doorway for her that showed her another part of her life. And I'll be like some fling that she has for a week or two, and then she'll end up back with her husband or something like that. Right. So I was really hesitant, energetically, but then I like felt into it more deeply. And I was like, man, I feel like she's genuine. Like, I don't feel like this is like her just trying to use me as a rebound. Like, I think she actually is into me in that way. And that led us to having what we now call our orgasmic weekend, where we connected for a weekend. We had no actual orgasms physically. We had a ton of energetic orgasms. I was sick. I couldn't even kiss. And it was just like the most magical thing. Like, wow, we're connecting in this space where all the things that normally would like drive us to feeling these feelings, we're not even doing. And yet we feel this level of heightened connectivity and like heightened like sensuality and energetic connection. And that was the last time that she ever went home. She pretty much stands. I couldn't get rid of her anymore. She was always in LA.
What's an energetic orgasm?
Yes. Yeah. It was, we were like energetic orgasm.
I remember at the time, oh my God, this is how I joke. But at that time, I was like, you give me so much mind boners. So, because I'm also very, like, I'm a sapiosexual and demisexual. So like on those levels, like I deeply connect to, so much so that like when we were connecting there was nothing but like surging excitement and love and expression when we were meeting together, getting to know each other. It was just phenomenal. And again, not looking for relationship at this time, just like I'm letting things flow and I'm letting things be experienced, and however I'm experiencing them and just being honest with it. And that's where it led to.
So does that mean that you are feeling a sense of bliss?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
1,000%.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Yeah, I was also shouting from the rooftops about orgasmic bliss to people. So definitely.
Yeah, it was, wow. Yeah, very unique. And
So
like, and go ahead.
Fast forward to now, and this is now about 6 years later, and you two teach style of free relationship, right? Is that
free relationship?
Free relationship, yes, free relationship. And I believe inside of the free relationship, you have dating experiences with other people. Some would call this, I don't know if you would call this a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah, the closest
How
thing.
did you go from that to now opening up? Like, how did you come to set up your current iteration of your relationship? And can you share what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting because it literally started with that. So this, following that orgasmic weekend, which I will say was the most blissful, connective, aligned, sexy, powerful, feels right, not a bone in my body feeling off about connecting with this person ever. And at the same time, I had just been going through a process of discovering like what kind of relationships that I wanted to have. One of my amazing humans in my life prior to dating Anaya had told me, she's like, Marco, you're polyamorous. It's like, and you just don't know it. And I had heard about this thing, and I'm like, yeah, it's like what old white people do. I'm not that. I don't know what that means, right? So I didn't identify with that. And at the time, one of my friends, well, she won't mind me sharing this because it's actually very much related to how we met, actually. So Amari and Amari's partner at the time, Veronica Trinity now, she was doing Reiki healing, and she came over to my place to do a Reiki session for me. And at the end of the Reiki session, like we're in this bliss, this energetic, amazing cone. And I'm like, so I have a lot of questions for you about polyamory, right? And I went down this laundry list with her of like, what does it feel like? And how does it work? And why do you do it? And what's different about it? And by the time I finished it, I came to this like aha moment of like, holy shit, that's what I've been this whole time. And I've just been denying it and thinking that it was wrong and thinking that like I couldn't do that and like there was not a structure for that. So I'm clear, even in this moment. And at this moment, mind you, I had not had this conversation with her. So like now imagine that like I'm at the origin stories of a connection that may or may not be down with this type of relationship, but I'm also so clear that this is like, oh, this is the kind of relationship that I get to do, that I got to present this to this person and let them know, like, this is the way that I want to move forward. Like, how do you feel?
Ooh, baby.
And how did you feel?
And also too, this is the way you want to move forward. I want to be, those listening and even me in this moment, it's like, it's like when someone says the term polyamory, they could have a different interpretation of what that means. So I think before I answers is like, what is polyamory?
Yeah. So I'll give it a better one, because I think that this is probably where a lot of the relationship design came, is that from talking with Vero about polyamory, right? Which, most people would know as like, cool, you can have multiple partners. You're sort of free to date as much as you want. I sort of interpreted that as to more of like, oh, I want to have the freedom to create whatever kind of relationship I want. I know that right now, part of that probably involves me not taking myself and saying, hey, like me liking anybody else is bad, me dating anybody else is bad. Like that's one part of this area. I also want to be free with who I am, free with how I communicate. And what I had experienced in my prior relationships that were monogamous was that there wasn't just the, cool, you can't date anyone else, but then there was a lot of tension around everything that would even lead to an inkling of a feeling of something other than interdependent. Of like, if I have friends, if I like a female that is not even sexually, then, oh, no, you can't be friends with her because she's a woman. And there were all these things that I had experienced in my past relationship that I was inviting of like, well, not only would this structure not be able to create that if it was going to be healthy. So if we were able to date other people, then I can't be like, no, I can't date other people. That would be exactly contradictory. But it could create an opportunity for an opening of honesty and truth with who I actually am, and saying the only way I'm going to move forward in relationship in this particular mode is by me moving forward with what I actually want and adjusting that with my partner as we go. That was, my thoughts of what I saw it as and what I sort of presented to you.
I don't recall that being said, but I just remember that it was very jarring for me to just take in the news, because I just felt so enthralled by our connection and connected to him. And again, not really like wanting it to turn anything specific, but I knew because I've had this connection, I had, again, previous 12-year monogamous and marriage. So that's what I knew and what I experienced. And my loyalty kind of lives in that space of monogamy. And so it was just like a break of what I knew in my field of like understanding of this connection. I'm like, but wait, what does that mean? Like, what is polyamory going to mean for this connection that I have with him? Granted, the previous 3 years of me not being very happy in my relationship, I was learning a lot about how to have a healthy relationship because we weren't having one. And so therefore I was doing my own research and had stumbled upon open relationships or opening up marriages and things of this nature, and then polyamory. And I was very intrigued and interested. And I even met a couple who told us more like deeper stories about their experiences. And I felt a sense of connection with those experiences that I felt like I wanted. And that was there in my space. And to the point where a year before we ended up divorcing, I had even approached talking about, can we open our marriage? Didn't go well, but either way, I I had my own perceptions about what polyamory was at that point, but very open to exploring what that could be between us. And again, this is all a new connection between me and Marco. And I'm just like, that feels good to me to explore at least. So yes, let's be polyamorous. Very daunting, still kind of scary. But either way, like felt right in regards to my growth and who I wanted to become as a person.
And when you say it felt daunting and even scary in the moments, that was in that moment, or does that still feel that way for you today?
More so in that moment, and as like new experiences were occurring within the relationship, and as we were exploring, because there was definitely things that were tension filled, and me dealing with jealousy and all these things that were coming up for me, probably mainly in the first year or two. Mm-hmm. But now I feel very comfortable with, so definitely things have adjusted and my perceptions have grown and expanded from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What does your relationship look like today? Like, how does that play out? How would you describe it?
Exactly how I wanted to. So, so again, the type of people that we were like riffing on everything that was intellectually stimulating, emotionally stimulating, and sexually stimulating to us at the beginning of the relationship. And we created a beautiful foundation on how to explore this together. And that continuously informs how we continue to check in with each other and adjust accordingly. So right now, I have just been, this last year, been more on the exploratory side of dating and gone on my like first few dates, because quite honestly, I've been mainly monogamous in this relationship, but not intentionally choosing that for the relationship, but more so for my own self-care, because I've been going through my own health issues. And also we had a baby. Yeah. Which we felt very strongly from the beginning that we wanted to have a child together. So that was very clear between us as well.
Yeah.
So right now, ultimately what I say, which is why we call it free relationship, is that we have the freedom to choose consistently yes to each other, yes to this relationship, and yes or no to how we choose to move through life and what decisions we want to make in regards to connection, in regards to, well, technically everything, because we live together and have a child together as well. So that sense of freedom feels like as a person, as I move about in this world, nothing feels like a limit. While at the same time, I choose to mainly be monogamous, and only till I find the person that I actually potentially want to explore with will I do that. And is still very rare for me. I still will want to meet people and date, but choosing to deepen relationship is still something that takes time for me more than it does for him. Yep. We have a different cadence for that.
Yep. I fall in love with a new person every week.
I would think, though, it's interesting. I would feel, Marco, that this might be scary for you in some way, because if she is generally monogamous by nature, and I think monogamous energetically, there's like an energetic like component. We have limited energy and we only have so much time to spend. And if she's dating and she hasn't discovered anywhere and that makes her like almost tick or come alive like you have, it's like she has this openness to seek something. Obviously, it won't look the same as what you two have done together, but something else that creates aliveness, which then it seems like it's a different way. Like, you're dating for fun and play and discovery. And I'm not saying that that's not what she's dating for too, but like, go and what were you going to say?
So I was going to say, like, no, I definitely, when I date, to clarify, is like, I date very intentionally, and like, I'm only interested in people in deep investment that I actually would like, I want to bring you into this family, into this fold. I think that the distinction that you just made that is really clear, though, is like, it's way easier for me for a number of different reasons. I am the more social of the two of us. So I'm out meeting tons of people all the time. It's easier for me to connect in that way. The other part that she might not have mentioned is before her last partner, she was married that entire time, married from 19. So she didn't even have dating experience. So like, I also very comfortable with dating, like, cool, I'm dating. So my ability to find those people, to feel comfortable in those spaces has been a lot easier. The part that became interesting is about a year ago when she did start opening that doorway up again, it felt more jarring for me momentarily because it was so different from the consistency she's been in for 4 years, right? So it's not like, oh yeah, well, oh my gosh, like now you're dating people. It's just like, oh, well, now what I've known for this relationship is you've known this entire relationship, I've been dating other people, right? And this entire relationship, she's been basically just not. So then when she started dating, then it was so interesting to feel all the feelings of like, oh man, am I going to get replaced? And like, well, what if she ends up liking this person more? And there was even a guy she liked that I did not understand why she liked. And it was like mind boggling to me. I'm like, but he's not even that cool. I'm like, well, then what does she think about me if she like really likes him? But like, she must not think that I'm that cool. And oh my gosh, like I was going through all the things. And then the conclusion though, two conclusions that came to me, which is I think something to take away for our relationship and for anybody, is I had to separate myself from her in a healthy way of like, oh, her decisions are not a reflection of me. Her likes and dislikes don't have to be my likes and dislikes. The people that she is attracted to, I don't have to think that they're amazing. She just has to think that they're amazing. And that's it. And in that honoring of separation, I went back to what we might not have mentioned. The grounding of our relationship is like we are in love with the relationship that is in the highest good and exploration for the both of us. So if there is something that she wants to explore, some road that she wants to go down that would be beautiful for her to journey on, then I want that for her, even if it's something that makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel a little weird. It's like, great.
How do you decide which avenues to go down individually versus which ones to go down together?
In what way? Like from a dating perspective, or dating people, or?
Yeah, from a growth perspective, for example. Yeah, there could be somebody's interested in someone and it's easy to be like, this person is really dope. Like, let's go to dinner with them. Let's hang out with them. Let's make this friend together. Yeah. Or even, I really want to do a medicine journey and this specific experience is really calling for me. Come too. Like, let's have this experience together. How do you make the decision of what to do together and what to do separately?
You want to do that one?
Yeah. So this is where it comes down to something that has beautifully unfurled for me in this journey of not just relationship, but my own like self-healing journey and deeply understanding my why, my values, and being grounded in that to the point where it becomes like unrecognizable to other people as to maybe why I want to choose something, but it's so clear that he understands my yes and my no and my truth, that like when I say, come with me, he's like, no, I don't really want to. Super respected. Like, we are so interdependent as individuals. Like, I respect all the decisions that he decides to make. Even if I don't like them, I can give my opinion that I don't like them as well. And he can receive that and choose to understand why and be curious, or just take that as he wants and move forward in whatever way. But together we have a lot of things in common. Again, this is related to how we started a relationship. We literally wrote down all of our values and how we want to embody them in our life. And that very fact on how we want to embody them is a big proponent as to why we're still choosing to be together, because of how he wants to live life. And I've also been going, again, through a lot of mental health issues related to my physical health. And I know our relationship is successful because of the ability of how we are completely and radically honest with each other as consistently as possible. So it's about sovereignty. I check in the moment, whether I want to do something or not. And I'm very clear, and I might come off like I don't care in the moment. And I just want to take care of myself.
Yeah. And I mean, thinking and adding that as like a relation to other people that we might be dating, it's still that same sovereign thing. Like I'm like, oh, I want to go to this with just this person. That's it. And there's not like she can throw down a veto, like you can't go out on a date without me, or like, and vice versa. So it's like that creation of we're honoring the fact that we are individual whole human beings that are collaborating on the parts of life that we want to do together, and also respecting the parts of life that we don't. Like,
I'm going to explain it pretty simply, really quick.
Yeah.
It's like this win-lose, this concept of compromise that we talk about in relationship, or a lot of people talk about. I feel like when I have his highest good in mind, even it to my potential detriment, that is still my win, because I desire the best for him. And again, if it's to my detriment, hey, I would like support for this, maybe in this particular ways, if you can provide that. And if not, then I get to look for that support in other capacities. But either way, to me, in my opinion, our decisions are mainly win-win, because we have each other's best interest in mind. So this win-lose, this concept of compromise, we usually talk about like compromising. It's like, I get the concept, but I don't feel like we compromise. Like we intentionally, powerfully choose to be potentially disadvantaged because of the higher value that we have.
I did explore polyamory, and my partner and I, we consider us monogamish. But there was one in our early dating phase, we explored polyamory, and I read the book Polysecure, because I'm like, okay, I was never really interested in polyamory, but now I, was exploring it with this person that I really enjoyed spending time with. And she, a lot of Polysecure, hence the title of the name, is about how do you create secure attachment within a polyamorous dynamic. And I can see when you like having a child together is, I imagine, is partly one of the greatest ways that you could create a secure attachment together. You could do it through the,
we're not going anywhere. I was joking there. I'm like, you can't go anywhere. Exactly. There's that. You could say marriage does that, but there's an allusion to marriage. Maybe not. Someone actually could even still, even though a co-parent situation, you've decided to do it together, but someone could actually leave. But most likely, if you're in integrous people, you've made that commitment. Buying a house together, creating some type of investment, generally will do that for couples. Did you find, was that part of the decision, or was it even a decision to have a child? And did that bring you a greater sense of secure attachment with each other to play in this dynamic? Oh, well, I mean, I'll say for me, like we wanted to have a child, I think like week 3. Week three. Like we were like, yo, there's something calling us to like have babies, but like people would think that's weird. So let's just wait a little bit. Right. So there was already a clarity about that.
It wasn't because of other people. It was just because we should probably wait and actually date each other for longer. But
then when we actually came down to the point of wanting to have a child, it was a very deep conversation between us, like talking about it intentionally, being in a state of like, hey, even if we didn't work out as the relationship, I know that I would love to parent with you. So like being in this clarity of like, regardless of how this continues to grow for us, I know damn well you would be an amazing mom. Like I know damn well you'd be an amazing father, and you're the kind of person that I would love to do that with. It was not a chosen to create security or something like that. In fact, I think what's ironic is like I've told people a lot of this sometimes. They talk about my relationship and they're like, oh, like, do you feel like this is the most committed relationship? Or how secure do you feel? Like, you could leave at any time. She could leave at any time. You could find somebody better or whatever. And it's come to this thing of like, yeah. And the reality is that all of those things that people are thinking about that create security are available to any and every human being, no matter what relationship style they have. Like you could leave whenever. You could find somebody else whenever. And that's why relationships end up ending, because all those things happen. So our attempts at trying to put manufactured barriers around it don't really matter, even down to the parenting things. Like I know pretty much most of my people that I know that have kids are not together, are not in like amazing co-parenting scenarios. So the kids did not help make sure that their relationship worked. It's like either the relationship is something that you both want to invest in, or you're just piling on fake circumstances to try and make yourself feel safe in a scenario that's not actually safe. But in our case, what I feel is like, because we're giving each other this deep level of freedom to choose every morning what kind of relationship we want, how we want to live, how we want to be. That's what makes it feel secure. Because for me, I'm like, 100% of who I am, not based on some condition of as long as I stay here in this room, or as long as I don't date 3 people and I only date 2, or as long we don't have arbitrary rules like that. I know that I feel accepted unless we shouldn't be in relationship anymore, in which case I also feel great about that, because if there's a point when she or me find out that there's a relationship dynamic that is better, is in a higher good than the relationship we have, then we're actually still winning in the dynamic of what we said we wanted the relationship to be, which is that it is what's the highest thing for you and the highest thing for me. So it was like this feeling of like, oh shit, so we could like never really lose. Like we don't. And that feeling, that feels good. That feels good.
What do you think about marriage?
Interesting. Why don't you answer? Since you were the married vet.
Similar to what you described in the beginning of the podcast, like I think it's such a beautiful celebration, and it can be a very physical representation of creating commitment with another person, which I think is awesome. And I went through that, and I also went through the divorce, and still know that it's a choice. And I don't know. It's more of like the feeling of the contracts that are related to that it's not like meaningful to me necessarily. I think the celebration and the commitment aspect and the ring as a symbol, sure, that's great. I'd even say like I'd love to create my own symbol and create our own type of celebration. And, yeah.
Talked about the ceremonialness of it for sure. I mean, I think obviously part of what is like sucky, or I'd just say not even sucky, just the reality, like marriage is a legal contract. Right. So like beyond the legal contract, there's all the other stuff that goes with it that is far more important for me. And then in this particular case, the legal contract that we could create doesn't even encompass our kind of relationship, because it's not even a relationship that can be bound by law in the way that we would want it. So it's like, we would create like our own contract that's like a custom variation.
I mean, we already have an energetic contract. So, but I would say that, creating our own would probably be better fitting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're nearing close to the end of time, and I know there's so much more we could dive into. You know, we talked about, I recorded a podcast on this topic prior to Deepen with Christina. I had hosted Your Love Accomplice from 2017 to 2018. I think one of the last episodes I ranted on how everyone should break up. It's like, just break them all up. So I can align with you on that, Marco, and the idea of coping versus growing, of being like coping with a particular relationship, a particular life situation, versus choosing to step out of your comfort zone and grow and evolve. However, one thing that's really interesting to me to tap into is how to have more fun dating. Because a lot of people are like, ugh, I just want to be done with this. So to have 2 individuals who are in a healthy, thriving relationship to choose to continue to date out in the world, and to do it with so much creativity. I'm curious of, how do you make the dating aspect more enjoyable?
You want to take that?
I see you first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because I know you have such a newer experience. It's interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think there's a few things that I would probably keep in mind. I have a framework that I use for myself in life that helps make dating and interacting with people more enjoyable. It's two different assumptions. One is I assume that everybody is already my best friend. So it's like this kind of energy that's like, if I can convince myself that this new person that I'm meeting is actually an old friend of mine, then I will stop having all these hangups about how are they going to judge me. I just start assuming, like, oh, this is an old friend of mine. They really love me. And then the second thing that I assume is that every single situation that I'm in, there's going to be a nugget of beauty that I get to gain from interacting with this person, even if it's a shitty relationship, even if it's a shitty date. Like, so then there's this excitement of like, and this might come into like part of my growth hacking mind of like, wow, even this shitty date could teach me something about myself. Why did I go on that shitty date? Why was I attracted to that person? How did I feel on that shitty date? So this idea of turning it into a game that is, in a sense, it's almost like, I'd say less dependent on the person and more on like, I'm going to create my amazing experience no matter what. So I'm going to play with this scenario. I'm going to have fun with you. I've been on horrible dates that I've turned into fun games by seeing how much joy I could find in this date. One date that I had that was, to give the contrast example, I've like talked to the person in the first, I think like 10 minutes, and I determined, I'm like, oh, wow, this person is so not a match. I set a timer for when I was going to leave. And I was like, I'm going to make the most of this hour. And then I said, you don't want to do an hour, Marco, half hour. Okay. I'm going to make the most of this half hour. And I'm giving that as an example of like, from the worst date to the best date, my feeling is I am actually the person that determines how good or bad this date is, not the other person. I'm the one that's going to control whether or not I'm enjoying myself, whether or not I'm here looking at the perspective of this person as being the stranger who's judging me, or as me just showing up as an amazing person, meeting a friend that I haven't seen for a long time. And maybe this friend's going through a rough time, right? So I take it less personally and enjoy the experience. So every date that I have, even the ones that are bad, end up turning into fun ones because I'm learning something new and I'm learning a new kind of person. That's pretty much how I do it.
I love too how you shared with me that some of the dates you go into Canva and create invitations or adventures for the dates. What is it? And I believe you mentioned that you don't use dating apps.
Yeah, I rarely have been on any dates from people in dating apps. I think like maybe 3 probably in my lifetime have I actually met on dating apps. Yeah.
So how do you make dates happen in real life?
Yeah. This is funny because again, those same principles, right? So if everybody's my best friend, then everybody is fair game for me to interact with. I know I shared this with you before, is like I have a tendency to be the weirdo in the sense that I'm always doing or being something that is out of the ordinary. That automatically makes it where there's almost a polar kind of feeling, like either the thing that I'm doing or the person that I'm being will cause people to say, I don't want to talk to that guy, or it'll definitely make a clear line of attraction and an opening for people. So whether it's me wearing a weird hat or like a different kind of outfit, or if it's a event where everyone's sitting down, then I'll be the one that's standing up and dancing. But these are not tricks. These are just me just being in my authentic self and then noticing that like, oh, there's a certain level of, I'll call it like extra pizzazz on my authenticity that I can put that becomes a form of authentic peacocking. It's like, cool, this is me. This is who I am. Just so you guys were wondering, like I am this person in this group. Anybody like that kind of person? Anybody? And it like without fail, I constantly attract people. It doesn't matter. In fact, my fear is oftentimes getting overwhelmed by having too many people that I could potentially go out on dates with, because that level of authenticity becomes a beacon that people, I think, is also refreshing for them, because we talk about like dating and meeting people as being something that people traditionally are thinking is going to be scary and it's going to feel awkward. But when I feel like they're my best friend, all of a sudden they also feel more comfortable too. So now they feel attracted to the fact that, oh, I feel safer and calmer with this person because they are bringing the energy of safety and calm. They're bringing the energy of play. They're bringing the energy of openness. So this feeling of like, it starts with you. It's like, if you are embodying that energy, then you'll start creating dates like that.
Okay, we're piecing together a little second audio file because my disk space ran out as we were recording on Zoom. So Mark, I could pass the ball back to you.
Yeah. Yes. What I was mentioning is essentially the key for me is when I'm embodying the things that I want from a date, like I'm embodying, I want to feel open in the date. So I'm going to feel open. I want to feel playful in a date. So I'm going to feel playful. I want to feel friendly in a date. So I'm going to feel friendly. Me doing that in dates, even in my pursuit of dates, attracts that kind of energy to me. So I find the people that become matches to that same thing.
How do people respond when you share that you're in a relationship with, and you have a baby and you're in a polydynamic? How did it?
Oh my gosh. I have to tell this one story because it's so funny. So first the response is all variations, everything from me being surprised to find out that somebody is also open to like, oh yeah, that's not my style. And, that's great. Like, I wish you the best, to absolute terror. I had this one, it was so funny. I was at this club here in Mexico City, and I met this woman. I walked in, and this is another one I will say is another trick / just back to the whole friend thing. I saw her looking at me. I maintain my eye contact. When I see somebody looking at me, I'm like, hello, person looking at me. I'm giving her a smile. I'm giving her a little dance. So we just walked in, and in the first few seconds, like I'm meeting and interacting with this human being. We start going over to the dance floor, and we're dancing and we're having fun, interacting. And I can't remember. I think it was, she'd asked me something I asked her about why she was here in Mexico. And then she asked me why I was here in Mexico. And I am not shy about the relationship we have, because the other thing that is very key for me in my own relationship dynamic, and I'll say, hold this for anybody else that's listening that's not in a poly dynamic, but is also just in a authentic, here's a part of me that maybe somebody might be turned off by, fucking share that shit. It's like, because if they're turned off by it, then you can stop wasting your time. But if they accept that, then great, we can continue moving. So Mexico, why am I here? Oh yeah, because me and my partner were thinking about where to have a great baby. Wait. You and your partner? Wait, you have a child? Oh, okay. Oh, no. She started backing up, and she started trying to create physical space away from me. Like, oh no, I can't. Oh no, I don't do that. And of course, because everybody's my best friend and I am still the fun, playful person, as she starts backing up, ironically, she goes to try to retreat to her friend, who happens to be talking to one of my friends. So then I'm telling her, I'm like, I guess you can't leave me. So you're just going to have to accept that you might still be able to enjoy just hanging with me, even though I'm in a relationship dynamic you don't like. Mm-hmm. Hilarious. The entire evening turns into me being in this beautiful energy of like, just remember, I'm still an awesome human being. I'm the same awesome human being you were talking to. We don't have to immediately be in a relationship dynamic that you don't want to be in, but I appreciate people just because I appreciate people. So that the truth of that, the honesty of that created safety that took this same person who was backpedaling and being scared to then being like, man, I had so much fun. Like meeting you is the funnest part of my evening. Like, I'm so excited, glad to be friends. She hits me up like every freaking day now. Like, and so I think the authenticity of that and the cool thing about that is to wrap up that, like, even though we may not ever date, I'm sorry, people can't see what I just did, but we'll see. That might end up being something that we end up exploring. But even though we may not ever date, I create the openness for me of genuinely being interested in people, regardless of whether I could date them romantically. And that creates a lot of freaking safety. And she even said, she's like, well, why would we talk if we can't date? And I was like, because you're an awesome person and I'm an awesome person. Like, mind blowing.
It's great.
So,
And how do you differ from this? How do you
yes. How do you differ?
We're cut from the same but different-ish cloth. It's the sense of authenticity that we live in. I'd say for me, it's just I'm maybe not as outwardly exuberant or energetic or extroverted in that way. And I can be sometimes, but I am not initially that way. I just love connecting with people as well and being completely forthright, honest, clear, radically expressive, and not expecting anything from everyone. So like let's just say, even when I did try the dating apps, and that was very interesting.
Oh man, she's going on a new date like 3 times a day.
That's not true. But either way, it was an exploration. It was a discovery. It was playful for me. I just wanted to get to know the people that I felt like I was connecting to the app. And even for some that I just barely connected, I just wanted to gauge my range of like what's happening here in regard to my desire to even connect. And I know that there's things that I could explore in regards to my dating experience, where I'm just so, again, I enjoy people, but it doesn't mean that I want to be romantically or sexually involved with them. So I am very clear with those kinds of expressions in real time, if that comes up in conversation. But sometimes I'm just enjoying a person and knowing that's not something I'm going to pursue. So I'll just be clear. And even though I'd be like, but I am enjoying my time and I still would like to hang out with you. But I think releasing the expectations about how this person's going to show up, or that I'm going down a checklist of like how they're supposed to be. Technically, I feel like I naturally am doing that as I meet anyone, but I'm not judging them for it. Mm-hmm. I let them be exactly who they are. And even if I'm not having a great experience, because I did have like a few dates where I didn't like, or I didn't even like the date, I still am like, what can I appreciate about this experience that I'm having? Or if I really don't like it, I get to move and get out of here. But eventually, like they started opening up differently, and then we started having a great time and laughing and having a blast, and still don't want to romantically date them again. But either way, like I appreciate people, and I genuinely like getting to know, and I'm very curious, and I like asking questions, and I'm and even if they have a judgment about how I'm interacting with them, I also take anything that they think about me very, like, it's not personal to me. Like, you can have whatever perception you have of me. And in fact, I like playing with that a little bit. It's so how do I make it fun? Mm-hmm. It's more of like, it's more of the juiciness and then like the interesting space around getting to know someone and letting anything and everything exist in that space, rather than it feeling like I needed to feel and look like this. Yeah. And even though he might do that in regards to Marco's like timing and doing his games or treating them like their best friend, I don't really have an agenda besides just like letting things flow and just, releasing expectations.
Do you guys ever feel like that you could be deepening your relationship further if you invested the time and energy to spend more time and do the creative things? And granted, I imagine you do creative things together, but if you put that into your relationship versus taking that out and making new friends and bringing new people into it. And I asked that question because the Dunbar number, you're familiar with Robin Dunbar, the anthropologist
that you can, your circle. Yep. I love this question because I think, oh my God, there's so many beautiful scenarios that I know you said that I can talk about anything, but so I'm like pausing myself for a moment of like, can I say this? I'll paraphrase it for your own sake. My experience has been so beautiful. I relate it to the same reason that we don't shut down everything else in our lives except for relationship when we're dating. Like, we don't date somebody and then say, I just wish that you could spend all of that time that you do working, having friends, being in hobbies, doing your own thing, just with me. Relationship would be so much better if we just focused on that one thing. So one, there's a reality that we already have diversity in our lives outside of relationship. But then the added benefit that comes in relationship for me is that I get the reflection of the kind of person that I am with different kinds of people that actually enhances my experience with Anaya. So I might learn something or I might see a repeated pattern that I always say this with other people. It's like that sometimes if I'm just in a relationship with just her, I could dismiss something she says about me as an echo chamber of like, yeah, whatever. You're the only person that thinks that about me. But when I'm dating 3 different people and they're all saying like, hey, Marco, like we think that you should probably tone that thing down. I'm like, wow, they're all saying that. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. So ironically, what happens is the growth of even the relationship muscle is constantly being worked by us having these diverse experiences. The ability to identify what it is that I enjoy about somebody else that's slightly different than Anaya helps me understand more about maybe a part of me that I get to express and explore that doesn't have anything to do with her. The ability to create less of this interdependence where I'm relying on her to be all the things versus my ability to start discovering those other things that I might enjoy, that also gets enhanced. So in our world, I'm like, I love the fact that we explore and deepen our relationship, and we're constantly having these new experiences that are giving us new feedback, new opportunities to explore, and new opportunities to deepen what I would even say is like the clarity of like, wow, every single time that I come back and say, yep, I still like to be here, it's not because I have lack of options. It's because I've been out there, I've seen everything out there, and yep, this is still amazing. So yeah, that's my data. My data mind is like, yeah, that's how I know that it's actually still accurate.
The two of you are supporting people in their love lives as well. I know both of you have, have been serial entrepreneurs and owned your own businesses, and now you have come together to support other couples in their own intimacy journeys. I think it's really beautiful as I'm hearing you speak. It's like the sovereignty aspect of you guys have made this commitment. We're going to live a life that is inspired through intimacy, and we're going to have each of our own unique intimacy journeys separate from one another, and then also intertwine our stories together. So can you tell us a little bit about how you're supporting couples and people on the dating journey?
Yeah. So there's a number of different ways. The most recent ones, which are really cool, is that we just started actually creating a lot of the tools that we use for ourselves and in one-on-one couples that are now available for people. So like one of the core ones that she mentioned lightly is this couples check-ins, couples compass, and it's essentially the process that we go through of setting up a relationship, setting up a mission, a vision, values, also developing a constant system for checking in with each other on a variety of different things. So this is ironically almost becomes like a date, right? That's like every single week, at least, you all are checking in, you're coming together, you're having some form of celebration, you're having some form of clearing, you're having some form of honoring, you're checking in on your values, you're determining whether or not you're still in line with each other. And this like is a one snapshot of essentially a whole base of tool sets for us that have nothing to do with polyamory and everything to do with honesty, conversations, communications. Are you communicating your desires? Does your partner actually know what you want? Or are you hoping that they get it through random telepathy, which is a lot of couples' problems. It's like, I just don't know why he's not doing the thing that I want. Have you told him? No, but he should know. And I'm like, okay, there you go. So yeah, it's at the core for us is a lot of that, like, how do you unravel the communication and just ensure that not only you all are on the same page, but that you're even going after the same vision for the kind of relationship that you want. That's what I would view it as. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because We created these tools for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way we geek out, right? we like to create systems that support our lives, and we didn't shy away at all. We dove right in to creating those systems for ourselves in relationship. And I know that's a reason why we've been in a secure relationship pretty much from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So we were naturally attracting people that wanted to get support. And it was not something like, oh yeah, like let's impose our values on other people or anything like that.
Like that.
Yeah, just the, again, has nothing to do with polyamory. This healthy dynamic has so much more to do about communication and understanding ourselves as individuals so that we can actually come together to create what we want in our lives as individuals and therefore together. And that's exactly what we support people with, because communication is such a big proponent to that, and self-awareness and knowing who you are as a person and what you truly want and need. And it's continuously supporting in our lives. We literally make fun games about how we interact with each other, how we have communication about certain topics that might be difficult for us. And we just are sharing those with people now.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is like the core root of honesty is such a huge one.
So,
and just about everything can spin from that. It's like, are you being deeply honest with yourself? Are you being deeply honest with the other person? And are you being honest with the relationship, with the fact that, hey, maybe this relationship is not actually one that we really are aligned for? Like, in that, oftentimes I feel like people are just lying to themselves, or they haven't asked themselves the right questions to truly make sure that they're there in an authentic way.
Especially since we evolve, right? Yeah. We're not stagnant human beings that aren't growing. So the flexibility that we can have in regards to this discovery process of living life together, what can that feel like and look like? And how can we constantly adjust to supporting each other in that process?
Yep.
Last question. How do you consider the term discipline in your life and in your relationship?
How do we consider it?
Like, are you just free and there's no discipline? Or is there a way that because through discipline is also part of the growth process. Mm-hmm. How is that incorporated?
So there's absolutely discipline in our reality of how we function as humans, as individuals. Again, this is part of how I even am okay some days, because I have to support myself and take care of myself and my well-being and my mental health and all of these things so that I could be a good partner, so that I could be a good mom, so that I can feel good in my body, all these things. So absolutely, we have a lot of discipline around our check-ins. We have one every morning on Monday.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, that in and of itself is definitely a big core of it, because prior to us doing the check-ins every morning on Mondays, we actually used to do them every day when we first started the relationship. So I think, like, the concept of like having regimen, having like consistency on something was definitely a huge part of how we were able to create that kind of growth very fast. Because instead of there being this like gap of, some of the things we talk about, we meet couples that have never done it in their entire relationship. They never asked, like, how are you feeling about this relationship? It's like, oh, it's been like 5 years. I've never asked that question before. But like, so asking that every day, like, hey, how are you feeling about this today? Like, does it still feel like something you want to do? Like, it creates both I think at first, a bit of like, could be tension of like, wow, there's a lot of tension to check in that often, that then becomes this like ease of like, because it's something that we've done so often, I no longer am so afraid about there being a change, about there being a fluctuation. So there's a center, I love the quote of like, nothing is normalized. Nothing is normal. Everything just becomes normalized. So like through that discipline of the consistency of doing these things, all of a sudden something that might have been in your panic zone becomes something that you're comfortable and easy with. So like that is available for every relationship, no matter what dynamic they're in. Communicate more, have scary conversations more often. Scary conversations won't be as scary. It's a formula.
You know what I really appreciate about the relationship and the life you two are living? There's this exclusive element to it. And when there's a period of multi-year, multi-generational evolution happening on the planet. I mean, we're always evolving, but people willing to play healthy relating and having healthy relationships, it's not the masses yet.
Yeah.
And you being inclusive, you give other people the ability to have that experience outside of just the two of you. So there's that truth of that when, you know, a real love comes together that's expansive, that it actually can send ripple effects out into the world. And you two having as that discipline to contain each other with inside of it. I know some of my questions can come off maybe as like, oh, let me see where I can poke holes in here.
Those holes. I love them.
But also, you know, how is this actually really possible? Like to bring up the true insides of what people are feeling and the thinking around this, like why, you know, what edges do they meet? And you can be listening to this and being like, this isn't the relationship style that I want. I imagine many people are listening to and being like, fuck, I didn't even know this was possible to have two people so open-minded and so loving towards one another and be willing to do the thing, to have the hard conversations.
I've
actually made having hard conversations almost pleasurable, if that makes sense. If we're talking about play, like I definitely coming into this relationship, I kind of jarred him at the beginning, but
yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I'm someone as an individual who likes depth, right? So like, I love the whole concept of we deepen, because deepening ourselves to our understanding of self and having that reflection in relationship, which is so meaningful, and how we grow so beautifully as humans together. And in relating is fundamentally how we function in this world, because I'm relating to everything. And the ones that we have when we relate to humans are so potent. And so for someone to see the full depth of my ugly and the full depth of my exuberance and shininess and like all of that being expressed and then letting it be witnessed, whether they can take it or not even, it's who I am. So I want in a relationship, and therefore I want all my relationships to be in this way with friends even too. Like, I want you to understand the depths of who I am and where I can go to my faults. And I want you to support me in those if you're willing. And so like the juiciness in that space of like, I'm having a hard time, or I'm actually having a hard time with you.
Yeah.
Like, how can we unravel that tension? How can we like smooth over this rough patch that we might feel in our experience? Because that creates more ease. Like, if this is rough and we're even trying to avoid it to some degree, like that doesn't feel good to me. Let's look at that. Let's explore that, please.
As a team, that's all I would leave. It's like, that's the beauty of it, is at the moment that you're like, we are both a team of imperfect human beings trying to figure out something together because we both want what's best for the both of us. If that's the baseline, then no matter what relationship type you're choosing, you all will navigate things with a whole different level of ease because you're literally on each other's side.
I love that. Amen. And I'm excited. The two of you will be teaching. I think you're going to do it together for Love Club Masterclass in May. If you're a Love Club member, you'll get to dive deeper with Marco and Anaya on May 16th, I think is the date. Yeah. Otherwise, you can click the link over in the description, share your website. And I know you have some really cool couples quiz and love quizzes, and get to know more about yourself, and also some of these tools and utensils that you're sharing that you've used inside of your relationship are available for others to access. And I say definitely check them out on social media if you want inspiration for how to have more fun dating and get more creative juices flowing of what's possible in your relationships. Definitely check more out about the two of you. Thank you guys for being on this podcast today. Again, I could have talked to you for much, much longer. Always hard to keep these conversations short.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, we appreciate being able to share our perspective for the exact same reason as what you were just saying. We just love for that ripple to go out to more people. so they can have loving relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I think even with what you're sharing and having the love club, wow, what beautiful spaces to create with other humans to really start looking at themselves and each other and really lifting each other up in these spaces. Because again, relationships are the most, in my opinion, the most meaningful things that we can create in this lifetime. So like, if we can learn that skill, I think those are actual skills that we can attain to like learn how to relate as whoever you are. Like, what a blessing.
Yep.
Yeah. What a blessing. Thank you both. And thank you everybody for listening to another episode of Deepen with Christina. Again, if you do enjoy this podcast, please do like, subscribe, rate, give it 5 stars. Helps more people find it, helps me continue to host it. And also go check out those experiences at wedeepen.com. Join us in the Love Club. You can apply. We can have a one-on-one conversation. I'd love to tell you more about it. Okay. Until next time. Bye for now.